Hello guys, power of expression and simplification. While I was making my daily color composition exercises like here, I thought about recording this because this is a great way, first of all, to generate really quickly and effortlessly cool, interesting compositions. We can easily, for example, loosely look at references, because it is very important. We can have uh, some photos, some keyframes, some other illustrations, and so on, and we can focus on main shapes. Like here, for example, I don't remember what was my reference image, or was there any reference image, because sometimes I take colors, sometimes I take main idea. So for example, here is some kind of dome, some maybe trees. And as you can see here, for example, we can later on develop this for our illustration or for some concept keyframe idea. For example, we can have ancient Greek temple, some, this kind of tall trees from when you have in Italy, these cypresses, I guess. Or we can go in different direction with it. We can have some, I don't know, temple or sci-fi stuff with floating crystals or whatsoever. As in here, it is more, it is less abstract, still very abstract, but we can imagine here is some kind of ruins of strange apparature, and we have almost ready illustration, in fact, because we can have more all interesting information, and later on we can develop it further, like here. But it is also the same approach when I use 3D model and then duplicate it and try to think as abstractly as here, or as in black and white. This is the same principle. We try to in 2D it is faster sometimes, because you take your Photoshop or your Procreate and then just try to have interesting composition is interesting, sometimes more pronounced, like here some samurai fighting, and here is like, I don't know what is it. It is, we can say it is trees or some kind of rocks, or some small person is standing here. So the sky is the limit with this kind of abstract and simplified illustrations and sketches. So here we can have some kind of environment. We of course can play with very simple forms, and later on we can use this for our illustrations or for our concept art. Like here, I will show you now other approach to this, the same principle. So here are my sketches in 3D in Blender. They are pretty abstract. I created a simple, I don't know, models with this kind of crazy, I don't know, coral or abstract, I don't know, crystals or whatever, and we can or introduce small person here, or it can be in this kind of cosmic or enormous size that we can probably place here. Here we can imagine, for example, that we have here some star destroyers or some spaceships, and we are in different realm or the same realms. For example, we have first close up here, and then they landed somewhere and they are exploring inside these giant structures. But still, the same principle goes from, or here are more finished illustrations with this kind of red salt desert rocks in space in some planet. But still, I started with simple idea, like from, let's say, something like here. It's the same color palette. So for example, when I go with this exercise, I usually make about, I don't know, use half an hour and try to, have at least maybe 10 or I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so 20, 10, something like that, and then I can pick one, or one illustration, one sketch here or one here, and then we can explore the story behind it. We can make some notes. For example, we can say, okay, here is some guy playing something like samurai, and he's looking at something, maybe, or maybe this is the rock formation with some ruins, maybe some trees growing from here. We can see maybe cloud or maybe some spaceship, and so we can have different approaches to this kind of sketches, and later on, or here we can have like very telephoto lens with some mountains, some sunsets. Something here is like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker house, or some two people are approaching, or whatever we want to make. So here are probably some like Titanic ruins in the mountains. I was thinking about, like, here is maybe some dwarven ruins, or like in the Hobbit movie, that the giants were fighting in the mountains. So maybe some kind of structures, or are giants who are like sleeping as mountains. So these are many possibilities in these abstract forms. So here is probably, I don't know, something. It's super abstract. I don't know what is it, but I can start imagining maybe some action. Here is maybe it's like, I don't know even what is it, but so here is more pronounced. Like we have tower, and like some kind of grass fields, spaceship, of course, some kind of station, submarine, or Arctic environment, and so on and so on. So we can pick something like that, or like here we like color palette. Then I was thinking, oh, maybe this kind of desert, desert green, crystalline forms with green sky and red, of course, contrasty colors, and red crystal mountains, and then this kind of abstraction work in this way. So it's of course sketchy still, but we can see what is going on here. So for example, here are like explorers going towards these mountains. Here are some other scenes showing these mountains, but and here are, for example, this kind of space anomaly that is like sucking in the spaceships, or wrecks of ships, and so on. We can, for example, start. It was at first a big collection of abstract sketches using the same principle as here, that I wanted to have this color palette using the elements, but 3D sometimes has better. It's better sometimes to play with different variations. So for example, I have this 1 or 2 elements, and then I can move a camera around, make some fog and so on, and then create some kind of interesting compositions, interesting maybe story. We can probably add some astronauts, or guys who are scavenging this wreck. I don't know, we can add some storytelling elements. But 2D version is like we can have more freedom in exploration of our subject. So for example, I saw, for example, one yellow sky, something with yellow sky. Then I started to make something that emerges from my imagination while I'm looking, because the most important thing in this abstract approach to creativity and illustration is to start imagining things, and what we feel, how the viewer later feels about these illustrations. So sometimes it's great that these small sketches can evoke and can encapsulate a lot of feelings, and then later we can probably, the best way is to like try to, you can depends on your mood or your time. You can start with even black and white, very abstract doodles, but still, as you can see, here is some kind of masses, some forms, some small people. Of course, small people are good for scale, and then we can, for example, imagine maybe it's some kind of mountain pass with big 2 rocks, maybe some tower, maybe some structure, or some pines, whatever. We can, abstraction is like looking in the clouds, and this is great tool. And here is probably, I don't know, maybe some guy is sitting here. There is some kind of sky that is illuminating him. They are talking, or I don't know what's going on here. Here is something, I don't know, maybe rocks or a dragon, I don't know. The fighting samurais, of course. Yeah, and so on and so on. So here are some cities, and for example, you can first start with drawing black and white forms, some ideas, and later, for example, you can look for a cool color palettes, and then later replicate this idea. So, for example, this is a spaceship, but very, very abstract. But still, we understand what's going on. Later on I can probably build it in 3D, use this frame to show the final design, and of course I can make all the callouts of the ship. So for concept artists, or just if you want to have some cool shape and cool illustration, that it makes some kind of impact or feeling for viewer, because I think that making some abstract forms or really cool illustration even, or concept art, that it makes some kind of evokes some feeling. Sometimes it's more than like it gives a lot of ideas. I don't know, one image is worth 1,000 words. So this is like sometimes people last time, couple of days ago, the client contacted me and he said that he liked some of my illustrations, and then I liked what he said, that he got a lot of story around it, and I felt that it is really cool that your stuff, your art can be kind of inspiration or something that is triggering the thought process, or building the world around it without specifically describing every element. Sometimes I really like this aspect of art or illustration, of concept art. Of course, this is more like blue sky phase with production, that you make the really abstract and really cool epic illustrations more, and keyframes and so on, and some really doodly stuff. And then later, of course, we need to explore the details for production and so on and so on. But this is, I think, if you are, for example, burned out from constantly practicing perspective, constantly practicing design, my concept art or illustration must be very, every time you start thinking about callouts when starting illustration, I think better idea is or make it simultaneously. So for example, every day you can try make this kind of images, and later on jump to your bigger project, would describe it. Or sometimes you just pick one illustration, like for example here, and start to thinking, well, what's going on here? I have some kind of environment, some hut, who is living there, and so on, and you can start adding story elements for yourself to inspire yourself without this kind of dread of empty canvas. So I think this is great also for artists. Of course, it's great for artists because it's our notebook and sketches. But when we have something like that, we can now start to explore many ideas and yeah. So I hope this was helpful for you, and really wanted to share it with you guys. So have a great day, and let me know what you think about this